What is up, guys? Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So the markets did pretty well today. S&P 500 went up 0.2%. The Dow Jones broke even. The Nasdaq 100 went up 0.6%. And the Russell 2000 also went up 0.1% on the day. And today we're going to be talking more about the markets, breaking down some technicals, going over 10 stocks to buy now. And I also want to share with you guys what stocks I own right now and in general where my head is at as a trader and as an investor. So if you guys find value, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, go down below, get into the Strive Smart Discord chat, the Facebook group. Feel free to also get 2 stocks from WeBull valued up to $1,600 and $30 from M1 Finance. All of those are free and linked right down below. And if you guys want exclusive content, morning update videos, buy, sell alerts, call outs, all of that good stuff, check out the Patreon that is also linked right down below. So let's get into it. Today, like I said, it was a pretty solid day, but overall the S&P 500 is still kind of in this consolidation period. At least it's been in these past 4 days. I mean, don't get me wrong. Before that, it was in straight bull mode, hitting highs, going up and up and up. But recently, these past 4 days, you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 days. I mean, we've been stuck between 39.30 as resistance and roughly 3,900 as support. So in this little 30-point window is where we've been in here on the S&P 500. And when I see consolidation, what that tells me is that it's kind of like the calm before the storm. What direction are we going to pick? It either means that we're consolidating to break out, or we're consolidating to ultimately dump back down. And I think that, we're leaning more towards the consolidation period to dump back down as opposed to, consolidating before we rip up. And I could be wrong. We could rip up higher, mid 3,900s, 4,000 on the S&P. That could happen in the short term. But honestly, I'm leaning more towards a sell-off. And we can see here on the 4-hour, I've pointed to this so many times. I don't want to be repetitive here, but we are seeing resistance at the top of this uptrending channel. So this leads me to believe, we could see a dump off on the S&P to the mid 20 or 3,800s, maybe low 3,800s, maybe even 3,700s, maybe in that general area as well. And if we zoom in a bit here on back to the 5-day, 5-minute, we do see we did close on an upswing today. So that gives the bulls some hope. And the fact that we held yesterday's support and yesterday's low of the day as support today, that's technically a higher low. No joke. That's a higher low, although we didn't rip out for the higher high quite yet because we are still in this little consolidation period. So we'll see tomorrow, guys. And of course, next week, if the S&P could rip out somehow above 3930, I could see this going, of course, maybe even higher. Momentum could take us up 3950, 4,000 even. I know it sounds crazy, but that could happen since we are living in crazy times, right? Let's be honest, guys. And of course, if we gap down tomorrow, we take out the lows from not only today, but if we take out the lows from yesterday, this 38.85 level heading into the weekend, that's not going to be too great of a sign for the bulls. That is pretty weak. That'd be a weak move closing, into the weekend. So we'd see from that point, we could be going even lower. And as always, I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know down below. I'm just breaking down what I personally see here. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and make sure to hit the like button. Let's try and get this video to 400 plus likes. That's the challenge for today. So smash that like button. And now let's talk about what stocks I own today. And the truth is, I didn't make any new moves today. I didn't buy anything. I didn't sell anything. I didn't lock in any profits. I'm just sitting on my positions that I opened up yesterday and over the past couple of weeks, quite frankly. And on top of that, I'm sitting on a good amount of cash still, about 30-40%. That's really probably not changing, especially as I do believe the markets are a bit overheated, so I do want to have that cash. And we've talked about this before, having that cash is a position. You could take advantage of opportunities when the market goes down. So I have that cash set aside, and I'm in a bunch of positions, and I call all of these out on my Patreon, right? And although I didn't get in any positions today, I still made some call outs on Patreon, which we'll actually go over later on in this video to see how those ended up panning out. But what I'm in right now, I'm in Tesla, TSLA. This is one that I picked up yesterday at about $809.25. This is one that I'm holding. Earlier today, we saw it go to $825. You can see that big spike, actually almost $830, and now it actually went all the way back down to $810. It closed at about $811, and it's trading at about $810 here after hours. So as long as this could hold this 4-hour 180 SMA, this is going to be a trade that I'm going to be in, because I think overall it could get back mid 800s. I mean, my first sell target on this is about 850, 860. That's probably where I'd lock in a good amount of profit, if not all of the profit. So I'm holding Tesla right now. Rocket is another one that I'm in. RKT, this is Rocket Companies. This actually dumped off a little bit today, and I'm not surprised based on the fact that it was still, in this downtrend when I bought into it yesterday. And by the way, I am down about 28 cents per share right now, which is nothing to, be scared about. It's really nothing at all. I'm down about, literally less than 1%. I'm in at $20.95. But again, I wasn't too surprised to see that drop, because we're still not out of the woods. And I was well aware when I got into this position, it could get down a little bit lower, maybe to the, 1980 level, maybe 2050. That's where it could be going. And again, I'm fully aware of that, and I might even add more money into it at that point. So I'm in Rocket, I'm in Tesla, I'm also still in TTCF, Tattooed Chef. This went down 3% today, but the inverse head and shoulder, a lot of you guys may be asking, Stas, what about this inverse head and shoulder? What we do see here, which we did call out on Patreon yesterday, is Tattooed Chef is holding an inverse head and shoulder. And as of today, right now at the close of the market, it's actually holding the neckline. So this is huge. This is the neckline right around 2370 to about 2380. It's imperative for this to actually hold that. And if it successfully does that, I could see Tattooed Chef ultimately getting up to $27, maybe even higher. And that's why I'm in it. I'm long. I mean, I've been in this one for a little bit at this point, a couple trading days. So I'm in that one still. Neo, you guys know I love my Neo. I'm still in this one despite it going down 1.6% today. Workhorse is another one that I'm still in, which is finally seeing a pullback, which I'm okay with, because I told you guys a couple days ago I locked in not all of my profits, because I was locking in the high 20s, but I locked in a lot of profits at 42, and now I'm left with a small position of Workhorse that's left, which is pretty much house money. So I don't really care if it goes down. I'm just holding on to that. So I'm still in a little bit of Workhorse. SLV, I'm also still in. This pretty much broke even today, nothing crazy. And SBE was probably my worst performer today. This went down 5.5% today, although it is still holding, by the looks of it, this overall wedge on the 4-hour. If I redraw this, you can see what I'm saying. So if this holds, we rip back up out of $42. I think that is going to be ideal. Obviously, for me, if I'm in at about $39, $40, that would be ideal for it to rip out of 42. And we'll see, guys. So let me know down below in the comments, what are you up to? I would love to know. And don't forget to check out that Patreon if you guys do want real-time buy and sell alerts and real-time call-outs that is linked right down below in the description box. So now let's talk about some stocks that I'm really interested in at this point in time. And stock number one is the competitor to SBE, and it is BLNK Energy, ticker symbol BL, or not BLNK Energy. Gosh, guys, every time I talk about it, I call it BLNK Energy. It's BLNK Charging. But yeah, this one went down about 4.3% today. And one thing that is a bit worrisome, right off the top, I'll be honest, one thing that's a bit worrisome is the fact that we got rejected at $60, $61, and we didn't actually go and hit a new high. That is not that great, because that means the uptrending channel, it didn't complete. It kind of fell short. You guys can see the previous high was at 64. So for the uptrend to continue, this would have had to hit maybe $66, maybe $68. So the fact that we failed at 61, that's not too great of a sign. But take a look. We're holding 51. We're holding a higher low here on the uptrend. It's looking decent, right? We're also holding that 180 SMA 4-hour chart. So the way I'm looking at BLNK Charging here, not energy, guys, charging, I'm looking at it here as a play, maybe back upwards to the high 50s, maybe low 60s, if it could squeeze back up to that resistance. That would be a move of anywhere from 12 to 15, even more percent, especially if it were to break $61, and maybe then it goes for that higher high. That could be a great opportunity. So BLNK Charging is for sure interesting here on this dip, as long, this is very critical, as long as it holds $50. If it collapses under, let's say 45, even 46, 47, if it gets low 40s, that's going to be pretty bad, technically speaking. But as long as it holds this uptrend, I think it's in play. So that's BLNK Charging. NNDM is another one which we're seeing a bit of an ascending triangle. At least I'm seeing this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But we're seeing a bit of an ascending triangle. We have resistance at $18. We double topped there back in the end of January. And we could also see here yesterday, we also topped at about $18, so very clear resistance at $18. And notice what we're doing into that resistance. Are we downtrending into that resistance? No, that doesn't even make sense. We're uptrending into the resistance, right? Meaning we're making higher lows. Low here at 1320. 1480, right? 1540. That's a good sign that we want to squeeze up to $18 and maybe even get out of $18. That is what an ascending triangle essentially is, right? We squeeze deeper and deeper into a resistance, in this case $18, and ultimately we take out the resistance and we go $18, $19, maybe $20 plus, which I would not be too surprised if that were to happen. So I didn't pick up any NNDM today. Again, I didn't buy anything today, but this is one that it could be a pretty decent opportunity. And as always, you must do your own research. You must do your own due diligence, guys. That is a must. Don't buy anything based on my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. You know that. So take a look, keep an eye on NNDM and McDonald's, guys. McDonald's is slowly breaking out as well. This makes me freaking happy, guys, because I'm in McDonald's long term. So I'm happy to see it doing well. I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. And we can see a clear descending triangle, right? It was a descending triangle. Remember, the other one was an ascending triangle. And the difference here with the descending triangle is we can see we're making lower highs into a support instead of making higher lows into a resistance, right? You can see here lower highs are being made from 230, 220, 217, 213 just a couple, trading days ago, and the big support was at about 205. We held that back in the end of January, back in the beginning of December. So the thing here is, if a descending triangle were to play out, McDonald's would collapse under 205. But what we're seeing is it's actually breaking out of the descending triangle, which kind of voids the descending triangle in a sense, and it flips it to, a bearish pattern, from a bearish pattern to now a very bullish pattern, because we broke the resistance of the descending triangle. So we broke that resistance at 212. We went up to 217. Now we're pulling back and we're holding the resistance as support. We're holding a higher low here on top of the moving averages on the 4-hour chart. So I think this could be a dip buy on McDonald's. I believe this could be a nice opportunity back up to the mid 200s or 210s. I mean, we already are there. But from 214 maybe to 217 plus 220, that is where I think McDonald's is going. So this is one that I'm already long in my long-term accounts. But even as a swing trade, from a swing trader's perspective, I might snag up some shares here of McDonald's just to, make some short-term income off of it. So McDonald's is looking good. Run is one here that we've talked about before. We also called this ascending triangle out. I think it was last week, a couple videos ago. You guys can see a big resistance at $82. We're right under $82. So we didn't break the resistance quite yet, but I think this could be a buy the breakout type of stock if it's able to break out of 82. I mean, today it went up 5% as the markets in general, they didn't do much. I mean, the NASDAQ did well, but for the most part, the Russell, the S&P, and the Dow, they didn't do that great today. So, this outperformed SunRun. SunRun outperformed. So I would like to see it break 82, and despite it being overbought, this could be a buy the breakout opportunity, and it could squeeze straight up to the high 80s, low 90s. I could easily see that happening, which gives Run about 7% more upside from where it is right now. So I'm watching that breakout very closely tomorrow. The rest of this, well, tomorrow is the last day of this week, but should I say next week as well. So watch out for that one. Snowflake is another one, ticker symbol SNOW. This is one that went down 2% today, closed right around $300, a little bit under that actually, at about $299, and it's right around that resistance from back in October. We actually talked about this yesterday, and 300 was a support back in the middle of December, and it was also a resistance back in the beginning of 2021, back in January. So I think it's key for Snowflake to hold 300. If it successfully does that, cracks back up, let's say, into 305, I believe that is going to be a great opportunity. And ultimately, I could see it easily. I don't want to say easily, guys, because nothing is easy. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But I could see it get maybe, let's say 320. Let's be conservative. Let's say from 300 to 320, which was the resistance from literally yesterday. I could see that happen here. That could be a move of about 7-8%. And if it does, ultimately eventually get to 340, that'd be a move of upwards of 12 to 13%. So, watch out for Snowflake. I like it. It's in my top 5 for tomorrow, no doubt. Same with Apple, AAPL. Take a look at what's setting up here, and you're going to see a very similar pattern to what we saw a couple weeks ago before the breakout we saw a couple weeks ago. If you guys remember, in the end of 2020, we peaked at about 138, roughly near that all-time high, or that might have been, an all-time high. But if you guys remember, a couple weeks even before that, we were right around 138. So, we were right around that point, and then we ended up forming a descending triangle, right? Support was at 126 back then, but we were making, lower highs into that support. Very similar to what we see with McDonald's, right? It's the same type of chart, but more condensed. You can see McDonald's, McDonald's is more drawn out, the descending triangle. Apple's chart is more condensed, but you can see how McDonald's is breaking out of the descending triangle, right? That is exactly what Apple did back in, December. You can see that heading into the new year, it broke out of the descending triangle at 128, and it ripped up to an all-time high, $145. And now take a look at what's happening. We hit that high, we got overbought, earnings were reported, the stock sold off to 130, now it's at about 135, and would you take a look at what's forming again? A descending triangle, support at 133 to 135, we're making lower highs into that support, but we haven't quite yet broken out. I think if we break out of 135 and ultimately above 138, which was a big resistance this whole month of February, it still is a big resistance. If we break that out, that is where I really think, unless the stock market collapses 20%, 10%, that's a different story. But I really think if markets stay healthy, we teeter-totter a bit, maybe even we go down and bounce back up, I think over time, Apple is going to break out of this descending triangle and do something similar to what it did a couple weeks ago. Hit a new high, maybe just fill the gap up to 140, maybe 145. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. We might be able to make some money there. And the MJ stocks, we got to use code words here. Patreon, that's one thing about Patreon that I like. You don't have to use code words. You could use the real word, but MJ stocks, these did bad today. Poorly, shall I say. Grammar must be correct, guys. Come on. For you grammar Nazis out there, don't worry. My grammar is on point. The MJ stocks, they did not do well today. TLRY collapsed. TLRY went down 40%. Went down 50%. Geez, 50%. This went to $77 and it went down to 33. And I believe these, MJ stocks, they are being pushed now by the Wall Street bets guys, right? They're crazy. Those guys are crazy. They look for stocks that are heavily shorted. And these were shorted heavily. Not as much as GameStop. For sure, not as much as GameStop. But still, they were shorted a pretty, high amount of their float. And we saw the explosion. I mean, TLRY had a partnership, to sell some of their product, I believe out there in Europe. And the stock went from $20. It squeezed up all the way to 77. And that's what you notice with a lot of these stocks that run up so quickly. They end up collapsing. They end up coming back to earth. And that's what happened here. And I'm not saying it's completely out of play. In fact, this might be, as crazy as it sounds, as long as it holds this 50 SMA 4-hour chart, this might be a dip buy. It really could be. I'm not going to buy the dip most likely, but, for a swing trade, that is. But for a day trade, a quick little boom, bop, in and out type of trade, this could be, this could be on your watch list. From 33, maybe we pop back up to 40, 45. That's very possible, especially with how volatile the stock has been. And it's the same thing with CGC. That's another one that collapsed today, not as much because it didn't get as overheated as TLRY, but still it went down 22%. It broke the 50 SMA at $44. It collapsed under that. So maybe if we go down to the mid-30s, this could be a dip buy, on CGC. ACB Aurora, this went down 23% today. And this is actually holding the 50 SMA. It actually held it. It's up, after market hours. It's up over $1. So this could be a bounce back play tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe back up to 16, 17. So I'm watching these MJ stocks really as speculative plays. I'm not looking to swing trade them. There's no way I'm looking to swing trade them over the weekend. I wouldn't do that. Maybe you guys would. I wouldn't do that. But as a day trade tomorrow, maybe. We'll see. And SKLZ, Skillz, is one that I said, okay, I said this yesterday and the day before. I said if we're able to get mid-30s, this could start opening up to be a decent opportunity. And we went down 6.5% today. We actually took out the support at about $38. That was the low from yesterday. That was also a resistance from back in the beginning of February. So that's a good sign that Skillz wants to go even lower. And we didn't really rip into the close of the market at all. In fact, the downtrend is still intact. So I think this could end up going lower, maybe to $35. And this is one that I probably would swing a small position over the weekend if we got to $35. Maybe if we got lucky and somehow it collapsed to the low 30s, which probably won't happen tomorrow. Maybe next week it does, but probably not tomorrow. But if it did, let's say it collapsed to 30, I'd probably buy an even bigger position there at $30 on this thing. And if it somehow gets to the mid-20s, that is where I'd go even heavier, of course. But we can't go there quite yet because, guys, we're still up $37. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see how this thing ends up playing out. So those are a bunch of stocks I'm watching, and there's more. One here is, Lordstown ride. We actually called this out in my morning briefing video. I believe that was 2 days ago on Patreon. We called this out, and this was yet again another ascending triangle. So let me know if you guys actually got into that call out. Drop a comment down below. And just because I call out stocks, again, I'm not a financial advisor, it doesn't mean that you should go out and buy it. I'm just calling out value that I see, and if you guys see value, and of course, if you do your own research and you understand what you're getting into, then and then only you could actually get into the move if you understand what you're doing. That's critical. Blindly trading behind somebody is not the best idea, but either way, we called this out in the morning briefing on Patreon 2 days ago as a breakout potential stock, and we got the breakout today. It went up 4%. We saw the descending triangle play out. We had resistance at 28.70. We were uptrending into that resistance. We squeezed out of it. We filled the gap now to $30.90. You might as well call it 31 bucks. And now that I'm looking at it, I mean, there's a overall ascending triangle here. I mean, resistance at $31 and we're uptrending into 31. But again, what we were just looking at was the ascending triangle on a smaller time frame from this past month. So there's kind of two ascending triangles here. There's a small one right here, which we just broke out of, 28 bucks resistance, and there's a bigger one. So there's a small ascending triangle within the overall ascending triangle, which again, the overall ascending triangle has resistance at $30.50 to $31, and we're uptrending into that. So if the overall one played out, I can see ride breakout to 32, 33, 34, 35, and who knows where it goes from there. So that is one we called out on Patreon. And if you guys were watching it, was that this morning? Yeah, that was this morning briefing, or this morning's video briefing on Patreon. We called out Virgin Galactic, and boy, oh boy, this thing exploded. It went up 13%. And it played out perfectly. We broke out of the wedge, and like I was saying, guys, there's a lot of hype right now building into that test flight on the 13th of February. And if that launches, it goes as planned, and the stock could maybe run a little bit more. And there's a couple of scenarios that could play out here, right? Let's say the flight gets pushed back. The stock might sell off a bit because we have seen them say, okay, if it's not a go on the 13th of February, we might do it later on in February. So that scenario, if that plays out, we might see a sell-off in Virgin Galactic. Another thing that we could see is the stock pops up. You know, it pops up during the test flight in 2 days, and then ultimately we see a sell the news event where it goes down about 10, 20%. Who knows? After the flight, we see some profit taking, and then it slowly starts to curl back up. So these are a couple of things that could happen, but overall, if you guys did get into Virgin Galactic today, shout outs to you. You crushed it. And you guys know, even though I didn't trade it today, I still have a stake in this company. I have a long-term position. I've been in since $18 per share. So needless to say, I still made money today regardless, and I hope you guys did as well. Alibaba is another one worth watching. This broke out today of 269, 270. We also called this out on Patreon. I can see this ultimately filling the gap up to 295, 300 over time. It could take a couple weeks, but that would be the completion of this right shoulder on the inverse head and shoulder. So that could be a nice moneymaker there. And Upwork, we also called this out today on Patreon. This one up 7%, and we called it out when it was at 55 bucks. If you guys caught this move, it went up close to the all-time highs. That was very, very strong. And at this point, I wouldn't necessarily chase Upwork. I'm scared that this could be a double top resistance before we end up dumping back to the low 50s, high 40s. So I'd be careful with this one. Just being honest, guys, I would be careful. So yeah, those are a bunch of stocks. And another one here, I almost forgot, Disney. They just reported earnings. The stock hit an all-time high after hours at almost $200 per share. And let's take a look quickly here. What I'm really looking for is that Disney Plus number. So, okay, let's take a look. Disney Plus has 100 million subscribers in close sight as company beats Q1 estimates. Let's take a look down here. What were their numbers, guys? Okay, EPS came in at 32 cents versus negative 41 cents. So they beat on EPS, and revenue came in also at a beat at 16.25 billion versus 15.93 billion. And take a look here. Disney Plus subs as of January 2nd, 2021 were 94.9 million versus 26.5 million in the same quarter last year. So they tripled up their subscribers from the same quarter last year. And we had 86.5 million subs at the end of the previous quarter. So even from, the last quarter, which was quarter 3 or quarter 4, depending on how they structure it. But either way, quarter over quarter, they grew about 7-8 million subscribers for Disney Plus, which is great. So Netflix, you better watch your back. Disney Plus is coming, guys. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Any thoughts you have, drop them down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let's try to get this to 400 likes. And make sure to also subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to also get your 2 stocks from WeBull valued up to $1,600. All you have to do is use my link down below, deposit $100, and that's how you get 2 free stocks. And you could also get $30 from M1 Finance by also using my link, opening up an account, and depositing any amount of money. And all of those are free and linked right down below. And if you guys want more access to me throughout the trading day, you want buy and sell alerts, call outs, you want an exclusive morning update video every day, Monday through Friday, check out that Patreon linked right down below if you guys want to join that. So yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. As always, stay safe out there. Keep crushing the markets. Peace out, guys.